One thing that true Pan-Africans and the African masses have been praying for is African unity. Imagine a situation whereby all African countries are interconnected through trade, culture, and exchange of ideas and technology. How great the African continent will be. If all African countries can work together to develop one another, fight insecurity together, and look for solutions to problems together, there is no doubt that the African continent will be the greatest in the world. Imagine if all African countries had put their heads and resources together to fight the insecurity that has plagued certain countries including Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, Somali, and the CAR. There is no doubt that Africa would have succeeded in ridding of that image where it's a continent filled with insecurity, terrorism, and civil war. We have always heard of deals signed between one African country and countries outside Africa, but what about an African-African deal? Of course, there have been certain times when African countries sign deals together, but it's little compared to an African and the great of the world deal. However, the fact is, we need to see more of an African-African deal. And the military government of Niger has taken this initiative to help its neighbor Mali, currently facing an energy crisis. For some months now, Mali has been suffering an acute electricity situation, with an increase in power cuts and an increasingly unstable electricity supply. This worrying situation has affected not only households, but also artisans and industry, thereby impacting many sectors of the Malian economy. According to testimonies collected, power cuts have intensified in recent months, particularly in Bamako, Mopti, Kayes, and Ségou. Residents already accustomed to load shedding then find themselves in increasingly problematic situations. This situation has caused support for the Malian government to drop, and some members of the civil society have even launched calls for demonstrations to demand an improvement in the electricity situation. Faced with this situation, the Minister of Energy, Bintou Kamara, recognizes that everyone is affected, including herself. She points the finger at fuel trafficking, which supplies thermal power plants, asserting that diesel tanks intended for electricity have been illicitly diverted by traffickers. However, according to some observers, this problematic situation is the result of many years of neglect toward EDM, the state-owned electricity company, which has become a source of financing for certain political parties. It is reported that the national energy company is crumbling under more than 200 billion CFA francs, that's about $330 million of debt. So it's no longer able to ensure continuous electricity supply in the capital Bamako and other Malian towns. This situation has helped to increase frustration with the ruling junta. And opposition politicians, including Husseini Amion Gwindo, are having a field day, calling for a regime change over the junta's inability to meet the essential needs of the people. To solve this need, the Malian government signed a memorandum of understanding with Russia in October 2023 to build a nuclear power plant that is capable of supplying electricity to the whole nation. The document outlines the priority tasks of cooperation, tools, and areas of joint work. Among them are the development of Mali's nuclear infrastructure, basic and applied research, as well as personnel training, nuclear research facilities, and nuclear power. On March 25, 2024, Russia and Mali signed a roadmap for cooperation in civil nuclear energy. The document defines concrete steps to build Mali's human resources capacity in the field of peaceful atoms and develop nuclear infrastructure. According to the African Initiative's interlocutors in Mali, the concluded documents are preparations for nuclear projects, which would begin in the next 2 years and probably finish by 2030. This means that the nuclear power plant is a long-term solution to Mali's current energy crisis. However, there was a need to solve the issue in the short term and deal with people's immediate needs. This is when Niger came to the rescue. Niger is set to become the newest oil-producing country in Africa as a result of the completion of the 2,000-kilometer crude oil pipeline, which connects the Agadem Rift Basin region in Niger to Port Seam Terminal in the Republic of Benin. And it has the capacity of producing 110,000 barrels per day, of which 90,000 barrels are to be exported. As part of efforts to enhance regional energy integration, Niger signed an agreement with Mali to supply affordable diesel to contribute to the country's energy security. According to the New Deal, Niger will sell diesel at almost half the normal rate, and the diesel supply will increase to 150 million liters per year from the current 22 million liters. The agreement was signed between Niger's petrol minister Mohamed Mustafa Barka and Assimi Goïta, the military junta of Mali, who announced that the first delivery would arrive within weeks. The diesel will be transported to Mali Energy Company, which will then supply to the country's various power stations. According to the statement following the signing of the agreement, this supply will guarantee stable and reliable electricity production, thus contributing to the socio-economic development of Mali. The Malian transitional president, Colonel Assimi Goïta, praised the exemplary cooperation between Mali and Niger, while encouraging the energy ministers of the two countries to continue their efforts towards better regional energy integration. This agreement comes on the heels of the agreement signed in February 2024 between Niger and the rest members of the Alliance of the Sahel, Mali, and Burkina Faso, as well as Chad. According to the agreement, Niger will supply diesel to Mali, Burkina Faso, and Chad. To achieve this, the military government of Niger has decided to build a diesel refinery, which it would use to supply its Sahel allies. The signing of this agreement represents an important step in strengthening bilateral relations between members of the AES and countries in the Sahel. Niger's decision to supply diesel to Mali at an affordable price reflects its willingness and commitment to dealing with the country's energy crisis. It also shows how African countries can work together to better promote growth and development amongst each other. Imagine if it was Western countries or even China or Russia that signed this deal with Mali. What do you think they would ask in return? Definitely access to one of Mali's resources. But, as a fellow African country that understands the crisis in the country, Niger simply asked for almost half the normal price of diesel. This is the kind of deal that should be happening all across the continent. Think of the benefits that Mali will begin to enjoy. The reduced price of diesel translates into cost savings for Mali's energy sector. With these reduced expenses, Mali can now allocate resources to other critical areas of energy development or social welfare programs, thereby enhancing overall energy resilience and socioeconomic development. The low cost also makes it affordable for citizens in Mali, thereby improving access to electricity and facilitating transport services. It will also reduce the tensions and frustrations that have mounted against the military government of Mali and build public support and confidence in their ability to find solutions to the problems Mali is facing. Already as a result of the electricity outages, some Malians have begun to say that it is because the country exited from the regional bloc, ECOWAS. That is why it is facing such a crisis. Hence, they urge the government to discuss with the regional bloc on their re-entry into the bloc. However, with this new deal with Niger, which is part of deepening cooperation, not just among members of the AES, but also in the Sahel, the people of Mali will begin to trust that joining the AES has huge benefits and will be to their advantage in general. Niger's energy deal with countries in the Sahel is a testament to the fact that the AES is committed to regional integration. As an alternative to ECOWAS, the AES, which was formed in September 2023, has taken the first step to assert its position in the region. Initially born as a defense pact between Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, who decided to pool their military resources to fight rebel or jihadist groups, the AES has grown to become a true economic and political union. There are already plans in place to create a stabilization fund and a common investment bank, with a view to the formation of an economic military alliance that would lead to a gradual overcoming of the CFA franc. And there is no doubt that more deals of this type will occur in the future, and with leaders such as Ibrahim Traoré at its helm, there is no doubt that with time, the AES will be able to achieve complete regional integration with a common currency, free trade area, and even a common military. Since they came to power, the military junta of Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso have paved a new path open for the rest of African countries to follow, a path free from the dictates and influence of the West, a path where Africa is free to choose and Africa is responsible for saving itself, a path where Africa is in charge of its own destiny. Hopefully, the rest of Africa follows suit so that the continent can be all that it is meant to be. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comment section below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video.